Welcome to the Lessons from the Leap podcast, where we showcase visionary entrepreneurs and leaders, sharing their incredible journeys and inspiring stories. Let's dive into the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Lessons from the Leap. I'm your host, Gazanfer Mansour. Today, we have a guest, Andrew Sachs, a two-time successful entrepreneur who decided to take on education. After leading in engineering and retiring from the tech world, Andrew turned his passion towards making the world a better place for others. With three wonderful kids and a teacher for a wife, he saw firsthand how schools and universities weren't preparing young people with technical, soft leadership skills needed to thrive in today's rapidly changing world. Having benefited from excellent teachers himself and from continuous learning in high-performing global project teams throughout his career, Andrew is now dedicated to providing that same opportunity to youth everywhere, regardless of income or birthplace. In 2019, Andrew founded Nobel Navigators, which has gone from 6 youth leaders to thousands across 165 countries in 2025. That's amazing. Thanks, Andrew, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Gazanfer, and thank you so much for having me. And I also want to say thank you for back in 2019, right before I really started Nobel. I had a chance to meet you at a local entrepreneurship conference. And as many entrepreneurs know, when you start out, everyone around you, all right, if you have a really good idea, everyone around you thinks you're insane. But when I met you, you lit up and asked a bunch of really great questions and gave me the confidence and the validation that I was on something great. So thank you so much for that validation, and thank you for having me today.
No, that's great. And that's entrepreneurship, being persistent, not giving up. You will have many no's, but the yeses and motivations are the ones that are pushing you ahead. Yeah. So now talk about, so can you share a little bit more of about your background and what turned your attention to education?
Sure, absolutely. Well, entrepreneurship as you probably know, starts way earlier than the date. I asked my wife, when did I start this Nobel, and she said 30 years ago. But it actually started even before that. My first business, I was 13 years old. I started repairing motorcycles, and I realized how much money I could make so quickly. I think the technicians were getting paid $25 an hour, and I was earning $2 an hour. So that was a big deal. In college, I actually had a business repairing and selling computers, which today would have cost $10,000 each. Made a ton of money, and I think really hooked myself on the power of entrepreneurship. Had started with a technology company here in Washington, D.C., TTC. We helped bring high-speed data from 56 kilobits to 40 gig, and grew from 100 people to over 2,000. So it was really my first, it wasn't my startup. I started out as an engineer, but it was really a place of great innovation. My second company was actually out of Boston, and we did logging and streaming of broadcast video. We were about 80% of the high value broadcasters. We actually live streamed the World Cup back in 2014, so very early on in video over the top video streaming. Got purchased by Verizon. Not exactly an entrepreneurial place to stick around, right? So started contemplating, what do I want to do? And I think my three wonderful kids noticed that I needed a job. My daughter sent me this message, and it was basically education's broken, and why don't you go fix it? And she was right. Modern work was teamwork. I saw with her, and she's a top performing student, and she hated teamwork. She hated group projects. So that was really a hugely motivating thing for me, and really what got me started on this.
Cool. So for the listeners who may not know, what is Nobel Navigators?
It's a global social learning network where youth learn social skills. They trade. I say it's a way to take back your kids from TikTok. It's a global social learning network, and youth trade live learning and leadership instead of likes. They collaborate with other youth around the globe working on meaningful projects, lift each other up, make each other stronger, and then grow and learn at their maximum rate while they're having fun and making friends. They work on real projects, everything from coding, web design, design thinking, graphics, digital marketing, AI, whatever problems and skills they want. It's 3 times faster, 3 or more times faster than traditional learning. It's fun, and it gives them the skills that matter, both the technical skills, the collaboration and innovation skills, as well as global leadership skills. As you said, we've grown it from 6 youth back in 2019 to over almost 10,000 now across 176 countries, 175 countries. And it's really just been a fantastic journey to help these youth grow in the skills that they want, develop the collaboration, purpose, and explorations that they want to do for their life, while developing the empathetic leaders that our world needs so badly.
Cool. Running a tech company, I know how challenging it is. Like you have a lot of those tech people very focused, and I came from the same background. So most of them are introvert, and like the social skills are the bigger piece that's missing. Now, companies do hire people based on a skill many times. Oh, we need the developer or architect, and that's the social skill are the ones that are many times killer of the project of the company. So we also learn it the hard way. It is the most important skill in the team. Like culture is key, and you cannot have a good culture if your team do not have those skills, whether it's dealing with customers, dealing with. So
Amen.
it is absolutely yeah. I'm glad you are addressing that problem. Now you can see why even way back when you were telling me um, why I liked that idea at that time and why I love that still.
Well, thank you. I think you obviously run a business that satisfies customer needs, solves real problems, and it's an integration of technology and people skills, right? You have to understand your customers' needs, their problems. You have to develop trust. I like to say empathy is about getting deep data from humans, right? You need data to make decisions, and what it takes to be successful is a combination of technology and people. And so you need both the technical skills and the people skills to do the best job possible.
From 6 people to that many in thousands of those students, how did you scale it? How did you grow? Like, and then also talk about, if you can, in terms of how are you structured or funded? Is it a venture funded? Is it just the private founders only? So
Good question. So I started out right in 2019 with an idea, and I didn't actually think that it was going to work. You come up, I'm from technology, right? If you actually go look around, you'll see there's so many people that have tried to fix education and failed, right? Tried to teach kids soft skills, and then I was looking around from about 2016 to 2019. I did a lot of research, and found all these, I'll call them dead shells of companies, right? Companies that people that tried to teach youth these things. I just had a really good timing and a great concept. So we met in 2019, and I actually had our first class of youth leading and teaching other youth that year. We had 13 youth out of a fantastic set of high schools here in Washington. It was Wooten High School, Churchill High School, and Thomas Jefferson. So great kids. And of the 13 kids, 6 of them became leaders. And not only did they like being leaders, they were incredible leaders and teachers of other youth. So that was kind of like my first aha, like this is something that can work. But you still think, yeah, there's a lot between 6 and 6 million, right? 2020 was COVID, and it was crazy for everyone, right? I mean, it didn't matter if you were in care of anything else, and interacting with humans. It was just a tough year, and it was equally tough for us, right? One of the things that happened was that our program was actually always designed to be hybrid. It was always designed to work both in person and online. And so when COVID came, all these kids had nothing to do, right? School was shut down. They had all this time on their hand, and so they kind of piled into Nobel, which actually caused us some problems, right? As you know, if you can grow too fast, and we learned a lot that summer. We ended up with 27 leaders, but we kind of crashed on not really having a sustainable system at the end of that summer. It was like we kind of had too many students, but not enough leaders. It was the 2021 that really got us into a system that was really started to scale. So in 2021, we had pivoted up to a little older age group, sort of the 13 to 30, rather than the younger kids, and to the youth that actually wanted to learn online. So a lot of people had tried the learning online that was coming from schools. And of course, schools did a bad job, right? They did it in a hurry. Nobody knew how to do it right. And we had been perfecting it for a long time. So ours was much better. And then schools were kind of like trying to push back to go in person, right? And their online learning was bad. So we continued to look great compared to the online learning that was happening elsewhere. We grew to 71 leaders that year. And of all countries, we actually grew mostly in Ukraine. So if you want to thank anyone for Nobel, actually thank Ukrainians. They were the energy, they were the hardworking, wanted to be global, they wanted to learn these skills, and they just powered us ahead. As we grew, I think 2021 to 2022, we grew almost 5x, and that was just a crazy tough year, right? That's growing. It's essentially reinventing the company every 6 months, right? The
Well,
processes that you have to create are just, there's every problem you run across problems, you got to solve them, you got to create a system, scale it up to the next level. One of the problems I ran into that year was really finding out that this notion of leadership that that I was so passionate about, empathetic leadership or servant leadership, building up people, that was so counter to what all these youth had experienced in their life. They had experienced leadership was telling you what to do. And that's not what Nobel does, and that's not going to be the agile world of tomorrow, right? So that was a big shift for us, and I kind of refactored our leadership training program to make sure that we really grew truly empathetic leaders that were what you might call servant leaders. They were there to build up and inspire and develop others. And then we kept growing, and then it was turn the crank, right? Every year we've been growing about 3x or so. This year we're probably 4x over last year, and building systems, building more courses. The job of a CEO is rough. When your company is doing badly, the job is rough. When your company's doing really well, the job is rough, right? You get nothing but the tough problems. But this year we'll probably hit 10,000 youth, and they're just and they have a life-changing experience when they're in Nobel.
awesome. Yeah, no, and as it's growing, I think those are the good problems to have because as you're building processes, you're learning. So we always say when you have customers, when you have users, and that growth is a good growth, those problems are good problems. So
Yeah, it's
now
great to
you
be
mentioned,
challenged with those.
for those who don't know, you used the word leaders multiple time in different countries. Who are those leaders? Are those more of a content creator? Those are administrators? Those are coaches? Help us.
Actually, that's a great question. You come into Nobel, and we call it learner to leader to mentor to coach. So you come into Nobel as a learner, you're going to learn a class, and then you turn around and you teach it to somebody else. So you immediately become a facilitator. And not everyone's ready for that, right? So everybody kind of goes at their own speed. They have to try again, but it turns out that almost everyone can learn how to lead and facilitate. Then we teach them principles of real leadership, and they'll begin to work on projects with other people. They'll work on teams. They'll take classes. They'll actually be, taking one higher level class, but teaching like sort of like a TA in a graduate school. They might be taking a high level class and teaching one of the lower level classes. They might be leading a team. We had some youth in Pakistan and Ukraine and Bangladesh come together, and they're doing a whole series of sessions on the green and sustainability. So the youth came together. They're like, we want to create this sort of learning environment. And they went off and organized and created events and content for that. So everything from content creation all the way through actually being a coach. So we actually teach youth how to be effective coaches for other youth. Our world is incredibly complicated, and schools are not serving our kids well, and media and social media are not either, right? The world's changing, and there's, a thousand friends, but you're lonely. It's an incredibly distracting, world with all the media and the social media. So we actually teach youth how to develop and be able to coach other youth in their journey, in their school, work, and in life. So everything from learner to coach. Great question.
Cool, cool, cool. No, now I have a lot more understanding of the whole process. So obviously you've been talking about all the education, the system broken. So and you said that youth today aren't being taught the skills needed for the real world, especially around AI and technology. So if you were to redesign a high school curriculum from scratch today, what must-have component would you include?
Uh, so full disclosure. So my wife was a teacher, right?
Okay.
And if you look at our education system, right, it was actually designed in 1890. And it was actually designed to create compliant factory workers that could read and write and be the automation, right? It was designed for in the industrial era to help make workers that could then be managed and led. And it's never given up on that. It has never changed from that mission. It's got an identity around that control. And so the very first thing I would do is actually ensure that all the participants in the high school are really determined and want their youth to participate in this innovation age, that they don't want their kids to just be the compliant ones, to just be the ones that are following directions. There's really those two worlds are so different, right? I'm teaching someone to be the automation versus I'm teaching someone to be the innovator and the leader. And they're very incompatible. So I would say that either you'd have to reduce the number of hours that kids spend on their normal academics so that they could then focus, some of their time or some of their day on what I would call, AI and innovation thinking and problem solving in whatever area they wanted. So that would be one of the first things I would do. And I wouldn't even start at high school. I would actually start earlier than that. One of the things that we find is you get kids into school and the 3-year-old is constantly curious, asking questions all the time, right? Not afraid of making a mistake, right? That's how we learn, right? That's how humans learn. Um, by the time that kid gets into high school, they're already not saying anything. They're already not asking questions. They're already worried about what's going to happen to their grade. So you actually need to start way earlier than that to preserve that natural curiosity, to preserve that creativity that they'll need in the real world, and to have them focus on learning, not on grades, right? Because, if I get that problem wrong and all of a sudden it affects my transcript and I don't get into my college, well, I'm not gonna take risks. I'm not gonna be creative. I'm not gonna try something new, right? Because who knows what's gonna happen to my grade. So you really have to start way earlier than the high school. You gotta, obviously the sooner you start this, the better. and we see kids kind of go through this transformation of, oh my gosh, I can ask a question, or I don't have to be right all the time, right? It's an amazing transformation that they go through. I think of it. I think a lot of what we teach is basically therapy from school, right? Kids are naturally creative, naturally curious, but we beat it out of them. And that curiosity and that creativity and that problem solving, that's actually what they need in life.
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. And we have seen the same in our company, as well as I have three kids, so I could see that you're very right. Early stage, they are more curious. Gradually, they are less. The focus is more on so the specific outcome. And the same is in the companies. If companies are measuring your performance based on certain things, certain capabilities, or certain deliverables, then your focus is just that. People are not going to be uh, learning new things. So we see that like when we are hiring engineers or designers, anybody, they're technically trained, but the world is changing so fast. You hired for something today, everything is changing. So how do you make sure those people are the right people who can quickly pick up the new stuff? And how would they do it? Because then you have to, it's a mind change as well. Like you have to coach them so that they are curious. They are like, this is one of the requirement. We push that like you like we have to challenge our customers. Sometimes it goes back into a difficult situation where we believe if you're not challenging whatever the customers are bringing, then we're just accepting as is. And that's the feedback I hear from people when they're working, especially with offshore. They do get that, oh, there are certain people, they'll just do what we tell them and they're doing great. Yes, they're a good instruction follower, but that may not necessarily be what the customer want. So we have to um, teach them. And also like looking at the world ahead, where the world is going. How do we train these people to be looking 6 months, a year, 2 year, 5 year ahead so that they are prepared, whether it's getting them on the path of AI or any other path. So that definitely totally agree with that. So you talked about the danger of tech controlling us instead of the other way around. How do you help young people build a healthy relationship with AI and digital tools? Because I also talk about the same thing where we talk about well, the technology should service human, not the other way around.
Amen. Amen.
That's the danger we're seeing the tech controlling, and with this AI, that's a scary time as well. So, you know,
Great
share some
question.
highlight.
Yeah, no, I think this is the pivotal item for humanity right now, right? We've introduced this as Yuval Noah Harari says, right? We've introduced this alien to our world. It's AI, right? And the question is it going to serve us or are we going to serve it? Now, some people ask me like, what are we going to do if AI is controlling us? And I look at them and I'm like, what do you mean win? Right? With all of our clickable on social media ecosystem, right? We're already being manipulated on a constant basis by AI, right? We don't, maybe we recognize it, maybe we don't. And as a society, right, we're suffering badly because of that, right? Misinformation, enragement. Kids are spending 8 hours a day on their devices, of which less than an hour is actually functional. So you've got incredible amounts of time that people are spending, kids and adults are spending on their devices. What we did in Nobel, it's a global social learning network. We get you addicted to learning and leadership instead of likes, instead of gaming. We pull you away, we take you back from TikTok. We pull you away from the media and the social media. And you take that, and we harvest that 8 hours. And instead of 8 hours, maybe you spend an hour on your phone that day, but the rest of the time, you're spending learning and leading and having fun and making friends. And at that same time, you understand how to use AI as a tool for your productivity and not be taken advantage of by that tool. So you recognize what's happening to you right? The 8 hours a day that they spend clicking and doom scrolling and, anything, it's 2 cents per click, 40 cents per hour off of your mental health and grip on the truth, right? And we transfer that into upskilling, and they have fun and make friends. This turns out it works for youth, and it also works for adults. And it's a great way to teach the durable skills, that creativity, the design thinking, the problem solving, the leadership, the innovation thinking, the digital marketing, whatever it is, right? And at the same time, they're having fun and making friends. So it makes a more human world, and it makes a more productive person.
And how did you integrate AI into education?
I would say we've integrated AI into the courses themselves. So you use it for brainstorming, you use it for coming up with ideas, you use it as part of your team. We'll talk a little bit about high performing teams, right? But AI used properly, this is the greatest cognitive lift humanity has ever had. Imagine having all the expertise of the world, all the knowledge, all the information that you might need to go after a problem. Imagine having that contextually available to you at all times in a project. That's amazing, right? This isn't. I think our world is going to shift from those that know to those that do and solve problems. And what we teach these youth is how to solve problems. And using AI, no longer is syntax a hurdle for coding, right? Anyone can code up an app. Everyone can be a builder, and they don't have to wait a week or a month. They can have an app running in an hour. And that power of being able to go from idea to brainstorming to implementation and try something and put it in front of someone, that's unbelievable. The learning that can happen, the problems you can solve, the systems understanding, the teamwork skills, the deep domain expertise you can gain by actually being able to build and solve real problems that fast. That's amazing. So bring it in everywhere. Use it as part of your team, right? It's another member on your team. Like, how to code, maybe I know DSP algorithms better, right? Well, turns out Claude, he knows how to do apps, right? Different
Yeah,
team
absolutely.
member
Yeah,
with different
AI-driven
skills.
development is changing a lot in our business as well. So we use a lot AI-driven development. So for proof of concept, when the new lead comes in, we
It's
use
amazing.
Claude
It's
Code,
amazing.
Replit, Bolt, all these different tools. Like rather than creating everything from a scratch, you could just use, for example, UX Pilot, Visly, or any of those tools. You can quickly create the product. It used to be the hand sketches. You can still do that, but now you give that even hand sketches to Claude or any of those tools, they'll convert it into
Boom.
something that's amazing. So I mean, I use it all the time for my use and pretty much everybody. So we have a mandate in our company that everybody needs to be 10x productive. So we
Amen.
allocated a fixed money that they can buy any AI tool for their learning, but we need to see the productivity. And we meet once a week, the whole company, and we talk about it. We share what we learn. We're defining those quarterly goals for each company member. So we realize if we're not doing it, we're just gonna be behind because then people are going in their own path, and that may be slow. But in the world where things are moving so quickly, we don't want to be another blockbuster type of company or Toys R Us or Babies R Us that are closed and behind innovation. So if there's innovation changing, we need to be competing rather than just sitting and watching. So
This is the transistor moment for business. Everything is
absolutely.
going to change.
Yeah, and that's the time to get on that roller coaster. You can either be part of it or you can just watch others doing it. So
Yeah,
the
you got an
decision
option.
is yours.
Yeah, you got an option. You can go off in the woods, get a cabin in the woods and enjoy the lake, right? That's an option. You can retire. You
Yeah,
can
closing an eye is an
slow.
option, but obviously not going to take you anywhere. Not
Yeah,
you would wish later. I wish I didn't do it. So So,
Yeah, what I find interesting is there's actually a remarkable number of people, older people especially, that choose not to jump on AI and choose to retire, and that's okay,
it's
right?
and it's a human nature. Like the change is hard. There are people who don't want to. I mean, we had somebody quit in our company because after those weekly, there was a comment came, oh, I have to restart learning everything that because a lot of people assume, okay, I got the degree, now I'm at the job, I'm doing the job, but not necessarily because if you're not growing yourself, you're not going to move up your ladder. So you can stay where you started and may actually go down because the need is going to change. And AI is changing all the careers as well. So you have to catch up. So that's a necessity. There's no choice.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So, yeah, one question I forgot to ask earlier, like, so given all the people before Nobel who tried to change the education, uh, and obviously we know the system is broken, there are holes. Why now? And I mean, you already talked about what you're doing, but what do you think
Yeah.
how you can solve it and why now?
Great question. I spent my wife, I said my wife told me I've been working on it for 30 years. But after my company got bought in 2016, I spent about 3 years looking at, okay, why had innovation in education not happened? You could clearly see back 100 years of people wanting to change what's happening in education and upskill people, but the system just was not changing. And it took me a little while to realize that, I mean, it's a system, it's alive. It's like the post office, right? It's not going to change, right? And it's gonna deliver junk learning as time goes on. And the question is, what's the event that could help you create value around this? And I really looked at all these others that had tried and failed before me, and almost all of them had failed because there was no accompanying technology or event disruption, right? So we all know innovator's dilemma. You need a disruption. People are like, well, the internet disrupted. No, it didn't. The internet didn't really change education at all. Get video disrupted. No, it didn't. Right? You got to play some videos, but the system was still very powerful. There were two big disruptions that made it possible to do Nobel. COVID, COVID hurt on the way in and on the way out. COVID hurt the existing school system because it basically shut down, right? It couldn't deliver any learning. Or as one parent said to me, I don't know what this is. The emperor has no clothes. He's in my living room and he's not good looking, right? It's like all of a sudden, what was happening in the classroom was evident to people in their own homes, and they could see that it wasn't working, right? So it was kind of a low tide, but it wasn't functional. And then all the push back to come in person, they did a bad job with that as well. They rejected all of the power of online learning because their only sustainable point of defense, right? It's a system, it's alive, it's trying to be defended, it's to be in person. So that rejected, Montgomery County turned off its online learning, right? It's a complete rejection of online. So it's actually hurt on the way in and it hurt on the way out, right? It hurt the existing systems. The second thing that really was, I want to thank I got to meet Ilya Sutskever, who's if you were going to label one person who's the technical brain behind the LLMs, that's the guy, right? He was at Google back in 2015. He was one of the founding members of OpenAI. He's the guy that almost fired Sam Altman or tried to fire Sam Altman, right? And he invented the LLM, and the very first industry that that got disrupted by LLM is education itself, right? It turns out, the number one usage of LLMs is doing your homework. You go look at the usage of ChatGPT. It dropped like a rock as soon as college went out, and it scored back up again. So LLMs, that type of AI, those large language models, they've actually exposed college and high school, right, as being a sort of rote retrieval of facts, right? Not real innovative problem solving. So I think COVID did one. COVID did one on the way in. It did it on the way out, right? And the LLMs have totally disrupted education and exposed the system for the sort of command control compliance, retrieval based that it is, and doesn't even it doesn't even know how to spell innovation, much less actually execute it. Right? It's been the same model for 130 years. No one knows
Yeah.
what innovation is.
Now, thank you for these awesome insights. One last question. Uh, with AI impacting every career in every profession, including entry job market for youth out of college. By the way, I do have one just graduated from college and out looking for a job. So, how would you advise parents and youth at this time?
Awesome question. You know, with all of these cases, there has never been, honestly, there's never been so much opportunity for youth as it is right now. And I know the job market doesn't convey that at the moment, right? The market for new hires has just been clobbered recently. However, if you come out, the number one uses, as I said, the number one users of AI are actually college students. What they need to do is learn how to use AI, not just to do their homework assignments, but to actually improve real business processes. The youth are so fast with the digital tools. They're so much ahead. So much is changing. Their ability to learn how to build, to code, to solve real problems is 10 times faster than an older person. Take that time, maybe take your weekends, take your evenings, whatever it is, take a light course load, get involved with a startup, get involved, solve real business problems. Uh, don't, don't just use AI to do your homework, right? Get out there and do something real, have something that you can show and build in public. And this isn't, a 3-week project. This is a year long or a 2-year long project. Second, learn and get into a place where you master those durable skills: leadership, global leadership, collaboration, innovation thinking, design thinking, digital marketing, working on teams, working on global teams. Just unbelievable opportunity for youth to get those skills that are also very hard for older people to learn. You put that combination together, these kids they'll come out of school, they'll earn $150,000. They're amazing. And it almost doesn't matter what major you go in with. Every single industry, except maybe prison or something like that, right? Maybe there might be cops or plumbers, right? Maybe that's a couple of places that won't be deploying so much AI in the field, but almost every other white collar labor job is going to be sorely in need of young people with these AI skills, with the ability to work on teams, and the desire to learn and grow and fast, and the whole world is open to them because of it.
Cool. Thank you. So we have been talking to Andrew Sachs, who have shared such inspiration insights with us today. Andrew, where can people learn more about you and your work with Nobel Navigators?
NobelNavigators.com. That's our website. You can find us on Instagram at Nobel Community and LinkedIn. You'll find all the testimonies from our students from all over the world. We're in 175 countries. Amazing youth growing from learner to leader to coach. Take back your kids from TikTok. This is an incredible time we're in with AI. We can help these youth upskill and become an incredibly powerful contributor at work, but also get the people skills that help them have a great and successful life as well.
Cool. Thank you. So this episode is brought to you by Technology Rivers. At Technology Rivers, we bring innovation through technology and AI to solve real-world industry problems. We do this in 2 ways. First, by helping businesses streamline and automate their operations. And second, by partnering with startup founders, entrepreneurs, and product owners to create innovative software products from SaaS platforms to web and mobile apps. A big part of our focus is healthcare, where we work with health tech companies to build secure and HIPAA-compliant products. If you would like to learn more about us or work with us, head over to technologyrivers.com and tell us more about your project. If you want to learn more about this podcast, head out to gezenfer.com, my first name.com, and then you'll find more information about the podcast and other information. All right, Andrew, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you again for that validation. Thanks for the time today. And thanks everyone for the listeners. I think we have a great future ahead of us. We just have to use the technology and not let the technology control us.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lessons from the Leap podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll catch you next time.